immigration.com, your go-to resource for U.S. immigration insights. We provide clear immigration news and information. Our platform provides a network of licensed attorneys who can answer your questions and guide you through the process. From visas to green cards, asylums to citizenships, immigrationquestion.com helps you to network with immigration attorneys so that you can move forward with confidence. Sign up today or download the app. Free registration, limited time offer. Stay tuned. We go live in 30 seconds.
Hello everyone and welcome to the special edition webinar hosted by immigrationquestion.com, a networking platform and meeting ground where immigrants, families, advocates, and licensed immigration attorneys come together to understand U.S. immigration policies and procedures better. My name is Nikita Bahadur and I'll be your host for today's important discussion, the asylum process, building a strong claim. For people fleeing persecution, the asylum process can offer protection and a way to start a new life in the United States. But asylum law can be complicated. There are strict rules, deadlines, and important evidence you need to provide. To build a strong claim, you need careful preparation, believable testimony, and well-organized supporting documents. Understanding the process works and what officials look for when evaluating a claim can make a meaningful difference in case outcomes. To help us break this down, we are honored to be joined by attorney Ibrahim Caglar, an experienced immigration attorney who represents asylum seekers and individuals navigating complex protection-based claims before USCIS and the immigration courts. Attorney Caglar, thank you so much for joining us today. We're thrilled to have you for today's important discussion.
Thank you for having me.
Before we begin, a quick reminder to our audience, immigrationquestion.com is a public educational and networking platform. The information shared today is for general purposes and only and does not constitute individualized legal advice. If you are joining us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, or another platform, welcome. Please subscribe and share this session with anyone who may benefit from understanding the asylum process. Let's dive right in. Attorney Caglar, can you briefly walk us through the asylum process?
Yes, I'm glad we're covering this topic because the asylum process can feel overwhelming, and understanding the roadmap makes a real difference. Sorry. Let me walk you through. Asylum is a form of protection available. All right, I'm really sorry. I'm getting some calls, and let me turn this off. Okay. So asylum is a form of protection available to individuals who are present in the United States and who have suffered persecution or have a well-founded fear of future persecution based on one of the 5 protected grounds. And those 5 protected grounds are race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or a membership in a particular social group. There are 2 main tracks to seek asylum in the United States. The first is the affirmative process. This is for individuals who are not currently in removal proceedings. You can file Form I-589 with the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and you are scheduled, after you file the form, you're scheduled for a non-adversarial interview with an asylum officer. And the officer reviews your claim, asks you questions, and makes a decision. And if the officer grants your case, you receive an asylum status. If they do not grant it, you are not in a lawful status, and you're not in lawful status. The case typically referred to the immigration court. And that leads us to the second track, which is the defensive process. In this scenario, you're in removal proceedings before an immigration judge. You present your asylum claim as a defense against deportation, and this is a formal courtroom setting with a government attorney on the other side. This is important. You bear the burden of proof, and the judge ultimately decides whether you qualify for asylum. After a grant of asylum, you can apply for work authorization, travel documents, and eventually, after 1 year, you become eligible to apply for green card. I hope this was detailed enough for those who want to know the asylum process in the United States.
Thank you so much. Yes, it was. And what are the core legal elements that must be proven to establish a successful asylum claim?
Great question. And this is really the foundation of every asylum case. To win, you must establish several core legal elements. The first legal element that you must establish is that you must show that you have experienced past persecution, or that you have a well-founded fear of future persecution. Persecution simply means serious harm. Second, the persecution must be on an account of one of the 5 protected grounds that I just mentioned: race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. This is called the nexus requirement, right? Because you're experiencing a serious harm, but why? Because of one of those 5 protected, based on one of those 5 protected grounds. Third, the persecutor must be the government or an entity that the government is unwilling or unable to control. Fourth, you must show that you cannot safely relocate within your home country. And lastly, you must demonstrate that you are not subject to any mandatory bars to asylum. To give an example, for example, having participated in persecution of others, then that's a bar to asylum, or having been convicted of a particularly serious crime or posing danger to the U.S. Security. Those are the bars to asylum. Each of these elements must be addressed clearly and supported with the evidence in the asylum case. That's how you build a case that you can win.
And how important is it for the applicant's personal declaration, and what distinguishes a strong, persuasive statement from a weak one?
Mm-hmm. So I cannot overstate how important the personal declaration is. I had some cases that the personal declaration was very strong, but we did not have support. We had supporting evidences, but the evidence that we mostly relied on was the personal declaration, and we were able to win those cases. So in many asylum cases, the applicant's own testimony is the single most critical piece of evidence. The courts have recognized that in asylum, the reason is the courts have recognized that in asylum cases, where the persecution often occurs is places where the documentation is not easy, right? So the applicant's credible testimony alone can be sufficient to sustain the burden of proof, and this is so important. So let's move to what makes a strong declaration. First, it must be detailed and specific, like vague statements like "I was threatened many times." No. Mention where, mention who, by who, or mention and how. So when did it happen? Where were you? Who was involved? What exactly was said or done? These are very important details that should be mentioned in an asylum declaration. Second, the declaration must be consistent. If you have inconsistent statements in your declaration, that will raise a credibility issue and will it's going to be a problem. It's going to be an issue for you. And third, it must be organized. I usually recommend to my clients to organize their declaration chronologically, like this happened first and then this happened. That will be easier for the court to follow, and also will be easier for you to remember. That's how our brains work, right? But I do recommend to my clients that to start with the background as well, not just the events, the incidents that happened that is the base of your claim, but also you should talk about your background, and that will that will give a better picture to the court. Fourth, this is something many applicants overlook, I think. The declaration should address the legal elements directly, right? It should make it clear which protected ground applies, right? You were persecuted because of what? Because of your race, because of your gender, or your religion. It should be clearly your declaration should address those elements clearly. And you should also address that why the government could not or would not protect you. Some of my cases had the applicants, they tried to get a protection from the government, but they were not able to. So you should mention those as well in the declaration. And just lastly, weak declaration. What is a weak declaration? The weak declaration is a declaration that is vague, disorganized, and inconsistent, and fails to connect the personal story to the legal framework. That should be your goal. I always tell my clients, your declaration is your chance to speak directly to the court, to the decision maker, right, to the judge. So you should make every word count, and that's very important. It's the single most important evidence of your asylum claim.
And how does 1 year filing deadline affect applicants? And what should individuals know about possible exceptions?
Great. So the 1 year filing deadline is one of the most misunderstood and consequential aspects of asylum law. So under the US law, an individual must file their asylum application within 1 year of their last arrival in the United States. If you miss that deadline, you can be barred from asylum entirely. There are other types of protections that are available, but the burden of proof that it is harder to get those protections, and they don't lead to a lawful permanent residency in the United States. So I'm not going to talk about that, but it is very important. Even if you have a strong asylum case on the merits, you might, I mean, if you don't file it within the 1 year deadline, you might not get an asylum. You might not, you might lose your asylum case, and that's not right. That's the worst outcome, right? So there are two categories of exceptions. The first is changed circumstances, and this means that something has materially changed, either in your country, your home country, or in your personal situation that now affects your eligibility for asylum. For example, you are on a tourist visa traveling to the United States. You're in the United States, you stayed, or you're a student. That's a better example because the 1 year deadline, right? most of the tourist visas are you're able to stay for up to 6 months. But if you're a student, you're in the United States, you're studying, and then the government in your country, they've changed, and now they're persecuting the people like you on the base of one of the protected grounds, like political opinion, right? So new government comes to power, and they start persecuting your ethnic group or your political group, and now you face persecution if you're not able to return because you face persecution. So this change even though 1 year passed, right, you might still be able to file an asylum application in the United States, but it's going to be harder for you to get it because you have to prove that that change happened, and then you did file your asylum application after that change within 1 year. And this is not easy. The second exception is extraordinary circumstances, and these are events beyond your control that prevented you from filing on time, like serious illness. You were you were in the hospital, you were not able to file anything, or mental health conditions, or you're a minor without a guardian, right? That is something that if you fall in one of those groups that I just mentioned, this is an exception to 1 year deadline under extraordinary circumstances. But here is what I want everyone to understand. Even if an exception applies, you must still file within a reasonable period after the changed or extraordinary circumstance. There is no bright line rule for what reasonable means, and this is open to interpretation. So the moment you know that you're going to face well-founded future persecution in your home country, and you're in the United States, and the 1 year deadline has passed, the moment you should file your asylum application to fall in that reasonable time, right? So my practical advice is very simple. If you are in the United States, you believe that you may have an asylum claim, consult with an immigration attorney as soon as possible. Do not let that 1 year clock run out. And if it has already run, do not assume you're disqualified. Consult with an attorney who can see who can evaluate whether an exception applies to your situation.
Thank you for those insights. For everyone watching, this conversation about building a strong asylum claim is not meant to create fear, but to encourage preparation and clarity. The asylum process requires careful documentation, consistent testimony, and a clear understanding of legal standards. Having accurate information allows applicants to approach the process thoughtfully rather than reacting under pressure. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. ImmigrationQuestion.com is a networking platform where users can ask immigration-related questions at no cost and engage with participating attorneys. We are also proud to share that ImmigrationQuestion.com is BBB accredited and ISO certified, reflecting our commitment to transparency, accountability, community education, and security. Attorney Caglar, based on your experience representing asylum seekers, how does ImmigrationQuestion.com help immigrants and immigration attorneys like yourself?
This is a great platform to immigrants to get the most updated information on immigration related to their cases or what is going on with the immigration law in the United States. And I want to thank you that you are offering this to immigrants and immigration attorneys. yeah, this is very valuable for immigrants, I think.
Thank you, Attorney Caglar. Before we move into our live Q&A, let's tackle this very important question. What is one common misconception about the asylum process that you believe applicants should clarify to avoid weakening their case?
What is one can you please repeat that question?
Sure. What is one common misconception about the asylum process that you believe applicants should clarify about or clarify to avoid weakening their case?
The misconception is, I would say that the protected grounds. A lot of people that a lot of clients or potential clients that they reach out to me, they might have like their own idea of what is valid asylum claim, but the nexus has to be established for an individual to win the asylum case, meaning that just you face persecution in your home country, but you have to prove that the government was unwilling or unable to protect you. That's one of the misunderstandings of asylum that I see a lot.
Thank you, Attorney Caglar. If you're just joining us, we've been speaking to Attorney Ibrahim Caglar on the asylum process, building a strong claim. We're now moving into our live Q&A session. This is your opportunity to ask general questions and hear educational insights from a licensed immigration attorney. Please drop your questions in the chat or call us live on 516-703-3483, and we'll take as many questions as time allows. Our first question: does having a lawyer help me build a stronger asylum claim?
I think yes. Yeah, definitely. Because a lawyer will help you to make the connection of your personal, like between the personal story, the persecution that you faced, and the legal framework that the law requires for you to be eligible for an asylum here. So that is very important.
Okay. Our next question: what are the first steps I should take to build a strong asylum claim after I arrive in America?
I think the first step would be to talk to an attorney, an immigration attorney, to evaluate your claim, and after that, gather evidence and focus on your personal declaration.
Okay. That's all the time we have for questions right now. Attorney Caglar, recent reports show that asylum approval rates are dropping, while missed immigration court hearings are at the rise. Attending every hearing is crucial. Missing one can lead to serious consequences, including a removal order issued in your absence. Attorney Caglar, how should applicants interpret falling approval rates and raising missed hearings? Do these trends reflect tougher enforcement, changes in asylum standards, or mostly procedural challenges applicants need to navigate to protect their cases?
Okay, a great question. Yes, that is true. A lot of, denial rates are rising. However, this shows that how important it is to be prepared for your asylum case, and how important it is to have to update your, for example, address. Because I know that a lot of asylum seekers in the United States, when they move to another address, they don't they update their address with the immigration court and with ICE. That might result in denial, because the court can send you a case notice to appear, but you don't receive that notice because you didn't update your address. And I want to also mention that the law hasn't changed. It's the same law, but the application and the interpretation of the law might change from time to time. Therefore, I think it is very important to have an attorney who has an understanding of the current changes in the immigration law that can guide you to have a better and stronger asylum case.
Thank you to everyone who joined us for this special edition webinar, and thank you, Attorney Caglar, for sharing your knowledge and practical guidance.
Thank you.
You can always visit immigrationquestion.com to ask immigration-related questions, stay informed about policy updates, and register for upcoming live events. If you missed any part of today's discussion, the replay will be available on Spotify soon. Just search Borderless Talk by immigrationquestion.com. We look forward to seeing you on Wednesday at our next live session. Stay informed, stay prepared, and stay connected.